WOCA.
All right, 5 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Tuesday morning. Hope you're doing well. We want to dedicate some time right now to understanding some of the medical issues that we could find ourselves in sooner or later. We probably all have, that's probably a fact of life, I guess. Ruth Fenner Barash has helped us with this issue. She has written a book. It's called For Better or Worse, Lurching from Crisis to Crisis in America's Medical Morass. Ruth Barash is a public relations and advertising professional, which is probably how she knew the importance of getting on radio shows to talk about her book. She served education and civic organizations. She taught art, it says here, in painting, ceramics, and photography. Obviously, both sides of her brain are working, the intellectual part and the creative part. And her book kind of reveals that, I guess you would say. And so let me make sure your microphone's on, Robert. I didn't hear you just then. There you are.
Okay.
Ruth Brenner Barash. Good morning, Ruth.
Good morning, Larry, and thank you for having me on your show. I'm looking forward to you and your audience about this very important issue.
It is important. Where are you right now? Where are you calling from?
I'm in New York City.
All right, New York. And would the medical or the health care options be different depending on location? Like, would it be different in New York than Chicago, or different from a city, from a rural area? Like, we're sort of in a... It's not completely rural. It's not completely country. But, you drive 2 miles and you're in the country around here.
How lovely.
Yeah.
It's very different. Large city, because you've got medical that are...
Ruth, your phone is breaking up a little bit. Is there something we can do about the phone?
Let me think. I've got a buzz here. Shall I try calling your number one more time?
You've got a buzz?
I've got a little buzz. You have a little buzz, too?
Maybe she has that call waiting that comes in.
Oh, is somebody trying to call
on
you?
The phone, maybe. Maybe that's why the beep is.
Yeah, because
I don't have a... I just have a back buzz.
Okay, it is coming in and out. So, if you wouldn't mind trying to call back, and otherwise we can deal with it. Okay.
I'll call you right back.
Okay, Ruth. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. While Ruth is calling us back, let me just tell you a little bit about the book. It's called For Better or Worse, Lurching from Crisis to Crisis in America's Medical Morass. One of the things I wanted to bring up when Ruth goes back, if you can keep an eye on that phone, Robin, is Mel Tillis was in the news this morning. He just had a heart...
Here she is.
Heart procedure. I'm trying to do two things at once. All right, Ruth, are you there? Ruth? All right, Ruth. Good morning, Ruth. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Is it clearer now?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think that was a big improvement. Thank you. I was just telling the audience before, while you were calling back, that Mel Tillis, the country singer, was in the news this morning. He is recovering from heart surgery, so I wanted to start there. The reason he comes up is because even though he's a Nashville artist, he actually has a home here in our town. So we feel like he's one of our own. He's 81 years old. His daughter says... Does his daughter live here too?
Yes.
I think she lives here.
Yes, she does.
That he had a routine heart procedure. That sounds like a stent.
Yes, it does.
And I know you talk about stents in the book. Or it's pronounced stint or stent?
Stent.
Stent, okay. So what do we need to know in 2014 about the stent?
Stents are... now different. The original stents were not medicated, as far as I know, are medicated. They are generally very good number of years. They will have to get new ones.
Okay. Your phone is still breaking up, just so you know. In the part in the book about stents, you included information about a stray clot. That's a nightmare waiting to happen. Robin lost an aunt because of a stray clot. She was alive 1 minute and then dead the next. It was unbelievable, right?
Right. She was in the hospital too. In the hospital,
yeah.
After being treated, and she died.
So a stray clot can be a very scary thing. What do we need to know about that?
It's a horrible thing. There is nothing much you... If it happens, These are tiny spots from the side of the blood system up the brain.
All right. Ruth, I'm so sorry. The phone line is just not working. It's a bad connection or something. Are you on a cell phone?
Is this better?
Right now it is.
All right.
Do you have... Okay, you're breaking up. Do you have a landline possibly?
I am talking to you on a landline. I had you on speaker before. I thought that might have been the problem. Are you still getting a bad...
No, now it sounds good. So you were on a speakerphone.
Yeah, so let me stay off the speakerphone. And we'll hope that we get this straight.
That sounds much... Yeah, I can tell already. Okay, it didn't sound like a speakerphone, but it was definitely cutting in and out. Okay, so the book... Who's the book for? Is it for a young person, an old person, or everybody in between?
It's really for an older person. I'll tell you quite honestly, I wrote it so that my daughter would know what had been going on in her father's life. She is at this point unable to read it because it's much too close. Another acquaintance of mine who is in her 40s said her father had died a year and a half ago. She was not ready to read this. However, if you are in the midst of it, if you are ill or taking care of an ill person, this is a book for you to read because there are experiences that are, I think, common to everyone who has gone through the medical system, who's been ill. Illness takes so much more out of you than just the physical things that happen to your body. It makes you, when you're ill, just mentally so much weaker than you were before. And that is why it is vital to have an advocate/caregiver. This is usually a spouse or a daughter, more often than a son. And you need help if you're sick. You need somebody to go to the doctor's office with you, to take you to the emergency room if that becomes essential.
Right.
Because, and I think many of your senior neighbors will have noticed this, they go to the doctor and the doctor will say, well, why are you here today? Why are you visiting my office? And then there's a blank look that comes over the patient's eyes, and then the advocate jumps in and says he's here because his knee is acting up again, or because he wasn't able to bend over to tie his shoelaces, or got dizzy when doing so. Whatever it is, you and your caregiver, your advocate, should always have a list with you when you visit the doctor, a list of what ails you, why are you here. You should also have a list of whatever medications you are taking. Either take a full list with you that includes the number of milligrams or whatever it is of the med, or just take the little vials with you, because quite often it is a combination of medications that will give you the problem that you're having.
So you were the caregiver of your husband, Philip?
I was indeed, yes.
So to let you know that I can relate to this, and so can Robin, because Robin is not part of my family, but she's like part of my family, she and her husband. When my dad got sick on Father's Day about 6 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
And then he died in November of that year. So it went all the way from June through November. And the care he needed was... in addition to the hospital, but there was a point when the hospital said there's nothing else we can do for him. And the family and friends, like Robin and her husband, and as well as hospice, stepped in. So I felt like the burden wasn't really put on any one person. We were able to have not only friends and family, but professionals in the case of hospice.
Well, you were very fortunate. Hospice is wonderful, but hospice is not available until you've reached a certain point.
Right.
In a way, you were very lucky because the hospital told you there was nothing more that they could do. In many instances, hospitals and doctors are unwilling to say that. There is a feeling out there amongst professionals that we can't tell a person how badly off he is because it's pessimistic and it will depress him and so on and so forth. Actually, to most people, it is a relief to know at what point in their illness and in their life they are. It is a breath of, relief, not to worry about what is going to happen next. How much longer do I have to deal with this? When you're near the end in a very serious illness,
right.
It is good to have a dose of realism. And unfortunately, a lot of doctors are not able to give that. They are wonderfully trained in modern medical practice. They know all the technology and all the chemistry, and they don't know the psychology. They do not know how to talk to patients in too many situations, and that is perhaps because they themselves are afraid of death,
right.
as so many of us are. I think as you get older, you are less afraid of death than you are of dying. And so I think older people will relate to this wish to know where they are, what is happening in your life, and how do I deal with it. You know it's going to be a matter of 2 months or 2 weeks. You can take care of everything that you've left dangling, and you can die peacefully, at least mentally peacefully, knowing that you've taken care of things. It's important for everybody involved to understand that this is a good thing, not a bad thing.
One of the nice things about your book is that it's written in diary form. You really do a great service to the reader, that you have everything written out so precisely, and it's not just a textbook. It's also, you have humor interjected in that.
Well, I hope people do see that, and I think humor helps all of us in all life situations, but particularly when you are immersed in something that is so all-consuming. It's good every once in a while to be a little sarcastic or a little silly, and just get out of this whole it's so bad situation. It is a time of terrible, terrible tension for both the patient and the caregiver. And I want to add, from my own point of view as a caregiver, take care of yourself first, because if you're not well, you can't take care of anyone else. You've got to maintain your mental and your physical strength. Give yourself an hour at the salon, have a mani-pedi and a wonderful haircut, or at the saloon, go out and have a drink with friends.
Can I share a story with you, Ruth? This is about a couple. This is about a couple I'm not related to in any way, and the reason I know the story is because I worked at an assisted living facility. The lady who was the resident at the facility had severe dementia, and I don't know that it was Alzheimer's, but it looked like it to me. I'm not an expert. My job there was activities, so you get an idea of what I was doing. I was being playful. My job was to be playful. Okay, so her husband would come every single day. He looked healthy. He was the caregiver probably up until the point he couldn't do it anymore, and then she moved into the facility. Every single day he was there, holding her hand, having breakfast, having lunch with her, and then he would go home every single day. Well, I was an integral part, I guess, in their lives, and he came to appreciate what I was trying to do. And he invited me to his home one time during the Christmas season for a little get-together. Okay. I went to the house. I was surprised to see that he had a girlfriend. His daughter was there. His daughter was an adult, probably my age or just a little bit younger. And I was surprised that the daughter was okay with the girl. The girlfriend was part of his life all along. In other words, the man was married to this woman who could no longer be his wife, and at the same time had this woman, and everybody seemed fine with this. And it almost dovetails with what and I'm not trying to endorse
No, I understand what you're saying, and I think this was a very smart individual. He needed to live his own life.
Yeah, that's maybe that's what I'm
his wife.
trying to say. Yeah, yeah.
That's essential, and a lot of people will feel guilty if they give themselves time off. My husband was very smart. If he saw me hanging around the hospital, after a while he'd say, "Go home, get out of here. I don't want you here." And that was very smart. And, I also was sometimes reluctant to leave, but, I saw the sense of it. And I said, sitting here at this bedside in this dreary place is not doing either of us any good.
Right.
So get out. And it's a horrible time of everybody's life, obviously, but you have to do the best you can for yourself in order to do the best you can for your partner.
So Philip never really lost his mind, so to speak. I hate to put it that way. And he kept his, that's.
He kept his mind. He had no dementia whatsoever, but he did lose some of his acuity as things went on. He had so many procedures, including a number of general anesthesias with surgeries and so forth.
Oh, really?
And he had the 2 TIAs, and my sense of it was that after every incident, he did lose something. In his youth, he was a lawyer, and he was very, very sharp. He really was on top of things, a very smart man. Towards the end, he would say, "Ruthie, you take care of it. I can't think about it. I can't do it." And this happens to people. You get immersed in your own misery, and something in your head is no longer able to move forward.
Ruth, can I ask you a sensitive question? I think it is. I'm getting this from the movie...
The Notebook? The Notebook?
No. It's the movie... Marigolds, what's that one with the women?
Steel Magnolias.
Steel Magnolias. Did you ever see this movie, Steel Magnolias?
No, I regret to say I did not.
Okay, but let me tell you, there's a scene. There's a scene where Sally Field is the mother, Julia Roberts is the daughter. The daughter dies, okay? And they're at the funeral, and Daryl Hannah plays one of the other women. So the Daryl Hannah character is a very religious character, and she says to Sally Field, "Don't worry, she's in a better place." And Sally Field turns to her and says, "I don't need to hear that right now. I just want to be sad. I want to be sad." So I'm wondering, sometimes religion is so important to us as individuals, but I've often wondered if it's fair to try to persuade somebody to believe as you believe, to comfort them in the way that you would comfort yourself. And I think that movie pointed that out a little bit. What are your thoughts on that? And I know it's a sensitive question, but how did you deal with that kind of thing? Did you have people coming to you trying to get you to look at it the way they would?
No, we did not. We were, I think everybody who knew us knew where we were. We were not religious people. I think we were highly moral people, but we were not involved in any formal religion. And I think people knew that we did not believe in an afterlife. However, after my husband died, people did come and say, not close friends, but acquaintances would say he's in a better place. And my point of view was where he had been was a better place, because this is the only place, which is how he and I looked at it. We did not believe in an afterlife. However, if people do, I think, everybody has to take his own point of view on this, and to try and talk someone into or out of something at that point where they're vulnerable and in pain, not a good idea. If you think you're going to go to heaven and see your beloved family after life, if this is comfortable and comforting to you, well, so be it. And if you don't, if you think that this is the only place, then just take advantage of every minute you have left on Earth, and make the best of it. I really think this is so personal, and to try to talk somebody, to convert somebody to your way of thinking at that stage is not helpful.
I like the fact also that you put some of yours and your husband's history in the book, and even your
that was great.
descriptiveness of him, how he was like a dreamboat.
We got
and
to
how
know.
you
We got to
enjoyed each other.
We got to know the two of you because of that. Yeah.
He was so good looking. He'd been in the Army, and he was fit and taut and bright, and he was just he was a dreamboat. He was every girl's desire. So I was very lucky to have met him, and he was a nice guy. He said he always that he was very lucky to have met me, so it worked out well.
Of course. Ruth, tell me a little bit about yourself. It says here you are creative, painting, ceramics, photography. Obviously, you're an author. Is this a first book for you?
No, it's not. I've written other things, and most prominent is a cookbook, which was not published widely, but we ran off 100 copies of it, and this was about 15, 20 years ago, and everybody who has a copy still uses it constantly. So cooking is a passion of mine, or at least was when I had a house full of family, and so I enjoyed that. Right, and now I'm working on starting a blog, a culture blog, which is going to be called The Culture Contrarian, and it's about cultural rambles around New York City and my point of view on what's going on here. So I'm always writing and doing stuff and walking around the city with my camera around my neck. It's
really?
I feel very fortunate to be so involved in things that I can do. It's great not to be bored, to be surrounded with interesting things and see the quirkiness around me. But anyway, again, to get back to for better or worse, I do hope that your audience will feel a little strengthened and a little empowered. It's just very, very important for them to know that they can say no to certain things. The medical system is, of course, primarily involved in maintaining itself. A hospital is not there for health care. A hospital is there to maintain the hospital. And I hate that sounds very cynical, but that's what corporations do. And
well, that's real. And do you think anything's going to change because of the Affordable Care Act, or do you think things will just be the same but paid for differently?
I suspect things will just keep on getting more and more complicated and more expensive, just because that there's a kind of reverse inertia there that happens that way. It's unfortunate, and the digital age is not helpful. One of the worst things that I'm sure many of your audience members have encountered, drives me crazy, is the automated telephone system.
Yeah.
You are nervous, you're anxious, something has happened, you want to speak to your doctor, and you get a menu with 12 things, none of which addresses your particular problem. You want to pull your hair out. This is where it is really important to have an advocate/caregiver. A patient cannot do this. It drove me crazy. My husband wouldn't have been able to do it at all. Just to deal with this kind of thing is horrible. And I think truly with employers having to pay for the perks, for the expensive health care benefits that they do for every employee, they are looking to not hire people to do these jobs, and that's a terrible thing. If employers didn't have to pay for health care, they could afford to hire more people. I truly feel that they hold off getting receptionists and telephone answerers because of the huge expenses, not of salary, but of health care insurance. However, we don't have single payer at this point, and I don't think we will get it. And it's unfortunate because it has a very negative effect on employment and a terribly negative effect on patients and their caregivers.
Well, Ruth, we feel like we got to know you through your book. And in addition to introducing us to you and to Philip, you've also introduced us to some of the things that we will need to be prepared for if we haven't already gone through them. I went through it with my mom also. My mom was a different story. She passed it just over a year ago. And
I'm sorry.
In her case, you know, though, you said something earlier that I think is very astute, and it has to do with, how do you say, not embracing, what's the word? Accepting the fact that somebody is going to die. I denied that my father was going to die. I thought, no, he's going to pull out of it. I do believe in God, so I do have a faith that way. And I was praying endlessly that he would survive, and he didn't. Mm-hmm. And so then 5 years later, when my mom became in a similar situation, I didn't say that same prayer. I just wanted it to be, I don't know.
Good for her.
Good for her. Thank you. That's the best finish to that sentence. And maybe because I knew, this is part of life. Death is part of life. I didn't want it.
Good acceptance, yes.
I didn't want it, but maybe your book will help somebody else be there sooner than I was there, without having to have gone through it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I hope so. That some people die very peacefully and very quickly, and that is an incredible blessing. It is not common, unfortunately. And if you've seen somebody go through hell, the next time you want things to be more peaceful, and you want to have an understanding that it is part of life. Death is just the most natural thing in the world. Yeah. And if we didn't have it, things would be pretty dreadful.
They say it's better than sex. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
I guess we'll all find out one day.
Yeah.
I think I saw that on a poster somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. You see, it's good to be able to laugh about things, even in the most dire situations.
And that's what you've really done so wonderfully with your book. Your photographs are excellent, and I do like the comment under the picture of you and your husband when you were going to fly somewhere. You said that this was when we dressed to fly, and I thought that was really funny.
Yes, well, we don't do that anymore, do we?
No, ma'am.
Flip-flops.
Yeah.
Flip-flops at the airport.
At the airport.
Yeah.
With shorts.
Life was very different then, and we enjoyed it. I look back, and in spite of the horrible things that happened towards the end of my husband's life, we had a wonderful life together, and we knew it while it was happening. We knew that we were happy. We appreciated every good moment that we had, and I think that too is an important thing for people to know. Just revel in what you've got. Sit back and look at all the good things that are happening in your relationship with each other and in the world around you. Don't go down to the swimming pool and kvetch about your children. Think about the good aspects. You know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, I love this.
Have you ever been to Florida, Ruth?
Yes. My mother and stepfather lived in the Palm Beach area on Singer Island, and my brother lives down there now, my brother and sister-in-law, so I have been down there, and I have very much enjoyed my visits. It's a great place to be, and, with a winter like what we've been having up here, it sometimes seems really
it's just
good.
a flight away. Just get on the airplane, 2 hours. I used to be a singer on Singer Island. In
really?
Yeah, what was there? Sheraton, I think it was. I don't think it's there anymore. This is years ago. Yeah, so I'm familiar with that little area right there. I have a copy of Ruth's book. It's called For Better or Worse. I would like to give it away. If you would like the book, call me. The rest of us have to go buy it, though. So let me give this one away, and then I'll ask Ruth to give me information so we can go buy it. Good morning. You've got the book. Who's this?
Good morning, everyone. This is Mary, and thank you, Miss Ruth, for all your experiences in writing the book. Hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Mary. The book will be waiting for you.
Thank you so much.
There you go. That went quick.
May I just add one thing, Larry?
Sure.
The book is available through Amazon, and it's available for your Kindle. And you can special order it at Barnes & Noble. It's a print-on-demand book, a brand new world kind of self-published ebook kind of thing. And I do hope that it will be of great use to your readers. Again, it tells exactly what our experiences were, lurching from crisis to crisis. My husband had one thing after the other after the other. Hopefully not too many people in your audience will be subjected to that kind of thing, but whatever situation they find themselves in, I hope it will be of help, and also to their caregivers as well. And I am so thankful to you for having me here and letting me talk on about this.
No, it's wonderful, Ruth. I feel like I'm talking to somebody from my family, actually. Great interview. Thank you, Ruth, for being on the air with us today. Don't go out in the cold. Come down to the warm Florida.
Well, it's going up to 60 degrees here today.
Oh, 60. Okay, good.
Nice.
Very briefly before it gets cold again, but I'm going to go out and enjoy it while we have it.
There you go. So when you're out with your cat, real quick question: what are you taking pictures of when you go out? What do you like to photograph?
I like to photograph architecture. I like to find strange little gargoyles and things that nobody looks up at because people tend to look down or they're engrossed in their cell phones. And I like to take pictures of odd-looking things that people do or people wear. And I'm in a part of town where we have a lot of students, so you get purple hair and green hair and many strange and funny things. So I like to photograph stuff like that.
So will the photographs be part of your blog?
Yes. In fact, part of my blog does have photographs, not so much of pictures, but of paintings or other theatrical venues.
So how do we get to your blog?
I'm going, as soon as it's established, I will send you information about it. How's that?
And then we'll share it with our listeners.
That's wonderful.
All right. Ruth Fenner Barash, thank you so much for being on the air with us today.
Thank you both, Robin and Larry.
Good.
Take care.
Good interview. We'll take a break and we'll be right back.
You're listening to WOCA News Talk 1370, Ocala's source for what's happening in today's hottest, up-to-date news and topics.
Hey, I'm Gary. And I'm Eric. Did you know that Red Eye Radio is on WOCA The Source every night from 2 to 6 a.m. and it's live?
That's right. No tape shows here.
We know that the news doesn't